It's my great pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker, Mr. Bill Strickland. Bill Strickland was born in 1947 and grew up in Manchester, an inner-city neighborhood in Pittsburgh. His life changed when he became inspired by a high school art teacher, Frank Ross, a skilled artisan on the potter's wheel. The relationship that Ross and Strickland initiated with a revolving mound of clay gave form to the future vision of Manchester Craftsmen's Guild. The Guild began as an after-school arts program in a donated Northside row house that Strickland secured while still in college as a student at the University of Pittsburgh. In 1969, he graduated cum laude with a bachelor's degree in American history and foreign relations. The decline of the steel industry created widespread unemployment, and Bidwell Training Center addressed the problem by offering vocational training to displaced and unemployed workers. Due to Strickland's successful track record with MCG, he was asked in 1971 to assume leadership of the training center and guide its transition to providing skills relevant to Pittsburgh's emerging market economy. Strickland's involvement in both MCG and BTC doubled the strength of Manchester Bidwell Corporation's ability to help the community. He envisioned a template for social change and began to form relationships with businesses, government officials, and individuals who shared his vision. Today, Manchester Bidwell Corporation has evolved into a national model for education, culture, and hope. MCG Youth and Arts and MCG Jazz are both programs of Manchester Craftsmen's Guild. MCG Youth serves approximately 3,900 youth each year through classes and workshops in ceramics, photography, digital imaging, and design art. After 20 years of operation, MCG Jazz has become an anchor of Pittsburgh's cultural and community life. Bidwell Training Center provides market-driven career education created through strong partnerships with leading local industries. The center offers accredited associate's degree and diploma programs in fields as varied as culinary arts, chemical laboratory technologies, health careers, horticulture, and office technology. I have visited the center on a few occasions, and it is truly a remarkable place. Mr. Strickland has received innumerable awards and honors on the local, state, and national level. He was tapped by Governor Corbett to serve on the Task Force for Child Protection and by President Obama to serve on the White House Council for Community Solutions. He has also served as chairman of the Expansion Arts Panel of the National Endowment for the Arts in Washington, D.C., and served a 6-year presidential appointment as a council member to the NEA. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to introduce our commencement speaker and current Shadyside grandparent, Mr. Bill Strickland.
It's very nice to be here. And the most important part about my speech is it's very short. I came to the conclusion some time ago that if prepared speeches were going to save us, we would have arrived at the promised land some time ago. So I think what I ought to do is get to the point. And also to say that I take you very seriously. I consider it an honor to be here to address you, but also I have a great enthusiasm for what your lives are quickly becoming. To the extent that we're going to have a future in this country, I think it's sitting in this audience right now, today. And so I hope that you will accept my enthusiasm for the way in which you presented yourselves this morning. And it was very touching to walk through that receiving line with people who were standing clearly at attention out of respect for the faculty and for what you do here. So, I would first like to thank the board and staff, and most importantly, your president, Tom Cangiano, who extended the invitation to address you this morning. I must admit that I am presenting this address with mixed emotions, as it represents the departure from Pittsburgh of this wonderful family, whose future appears bright and full of promise. I know I speak for the entire community in wishing them well and Godspeed. This is also a day of personal celebration for me, as I am proud that my grandson, Tyrone Gilliard, is what I think you call a rising 7th grader. Is that politically correct? Okay. All right, got that right. and will be entering, I guess, 8th grade. But more importantly, or as important, as exciting, his brother, Bo Gilliard, will also become a Shadyside student. And my cousin Jasmine White is in the audience, and Miss Kenny Wilson is in the audience, a friend of our family. So as you can see, my family has a significant presence at Shadyside Academy. I would also like to thank Bill and Sissy Lieberman, who introduced me to Tom and Linda, and who played an important role in introducing my grandchildren to this remarkable school. To you, the graduating class of this remarkable school, I wish you the very best. You will go on to contribute to the world in fields such as education and the behavioral sciences. I would simply add that because of your superior academic education, you will become national and international leaders in your respective fields, and in the process sustain an educational tradition that is the envy of the United States and arguably most of the world. In my current work at Manchester Bidwell Corporation here in Pittsburgh, we regularly work with individuals who carry along enormous academic and educational deficits, but who also have demonstrated over the years a fierce will to survive and prosper. Regrettably, due to economic circumstances, most of them will not receive the benefits of the education you are now in possession of. Having received this education largely as the result of hard work, parents who care about you, and a faculty that has demonstrated a relentless pursuit of excellence on your behalf. On Grandparents' Day here at Shadyside, my wife Rose and I sat in on several classes, including the Spanish class taught by Senor Alregetti. And I actually spoke in Spanish. I'm not sure I made any sense, but he was very polite and smiled during my whole presentation. So either I learned Spanish or he was a great diplomat and politician in allowing me to rag on at great length with my primitive knowledge of Espanol. But what I did sense was the excitement and excellence demonstrated by both that instructor and the students in his classroom. It was impossible not to be totally enthusiastic about every faculty member and classroom we visited during our brief stay. And I left Shadyside more determined to carry the spirit of this special place in my own work at Manchester Bidwell Corporation. As the result of our deep commitment to the pursuit of excellence mirrored by Shadyside Academy, we are at Manchester Bidwell, as Tom mentioned, successfully training students of marginal academic backgrounds to standards that exceed the national average for job training by 20% and have achieved recognition as a National School of Excellence twice in a row over a 10-year period. We also have increased the graduation rate for Pittsburgh public school students through the arts by 20% in 24 months, which means that we can say definitively there is nothing wrong with these children, that affection in a world-class environment and faculty such as represented on this stage and the camaraderie of people just like this audience can't cure. We also train for companies like Bayer and Calgon Carbon and UPMC and Heinz and PPG. And we have also replicated our center internationally in Israel, where we have Palestinians and Jewish students going to school together without metal detectors. and have not had one incident of violence since we have been open for 2 years, and we have centers open in 3 Pennsylvania cities and centers in 8 other U.S. cities. Recently, we have begun serious talks about creating a center in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and my goal is to build as many centers as God has given me the time to build. And I hope that each one of them someday will create an educational environment like our center in Pittsburgh and what you so clearly have created at the Shadyside Academy. So in the final analysis, I came here today to recruit, not to make a commencement address. I'm hoping that some of you, maybe a lot of you, will have developed a sense of a conscience and a sense of responsibility for your country that really, really needs you. We're hurting, and there are a lot of kids that deserve and need your help because of the skills that you have acquired in your superior education at this place. So, never wanted to miss an opportunity for a sale, I brought along business cards. And I'm hoping that any of you who respond to my speech will line up during the reception, and I can recruit you to begin to change the planet with me, which I fully intend to do with your help. Also, I am more than willing to share this reception experience with you. And I would really like to say now editorially that my mother is not here today. She died a number of years ago, but she implanted a gene at the base of my brain stem that prevents me from blocking out images of human suffering. And so at night, when I'm watching a television show and I see the children in Puerto Rico dying in their mother's arms because they weren't fed, I don't sleep well. And I want to do something about it. And I'm convinced that the people in this audience and this class may be a force for good in the world. In fact, I'm so convinced of it that I am prepared to bet my life that I'm right. The other thing I'll tell you of a personal nature is I'm the recipient of a double lung transplant 2 years ago. It worked. And I highly recommend if you ever have to have one of these things done, you go to UPMC because they lead the world in double lung transplants. I'm the poster boy for double lung transplants. Also, don't smoke. But I made a prayer during my recovery with God that if he or she spared me, I would devote my life to human suffering. And apparently my offer was accepted. And so what I plan to do for the rest of this life is to provide hope for people who've lost their way. Every student in the world deserves to go to a place like this. And there is no one on the planet that can convince me that we don't have the money or the willpower to do it. I want every kid to be a Shadyside kid. And I'm convinced that we can do this in multiple cities and in multiple locations everywhere in the world. And I'm prepared to do this to such an extent that when I do see these children who are dying of hunger through no fault of their own, I'm convinced that if I can just stay on point and just keep in touch with people like you, I think we could make a chance to literally change the world. Now that's my end game. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of watching people die unnecessarily. I want them to enjoy the sunshine of this day with people like your parents who are wonderful people who really love you, and to see the humor as exhibited by our previous speaker. I think that's the cure for cancer of the human spirit. And so I will remember you today and hopefully for the rest of my life. And I want to thank you, men and women, for being the extraordinary leaders that you already are, but the extraordinary leaders that I think you're going to become. And I would like to be associated with you permanently as you begin to exercise this extraordinary vision that I think you're already in possession of. And so I would like you to consider me a friend for life. And I'll follow your careers, and I will pray to God, as I did in the hospital, that if I was spared, I would spend my life trying to meet people such as the extraordinary graduates of this very special place. God bless you, Godspeed, and I wish you well in the exciting lives that clearly are in front of you. Thank you very much.